Hey, this is Mrs. Schaefer. I'm going to try to go through the lesson material today with you since the Blackboard Collaborate is not working well. So look at this warm up. Let's determine what type of change this is. Is it a physical change or a chemical change? So you're going to look at the picture to the left and then compare it with the right. What changed? In this case, I hope that you picked that it was a physical change. What is occurring is the water is moving from a liquid state to a gas state. So for this lab, we will be going through and conducting a lab. It's going to help us learn a little bit more about physical changes. And then also we'll be looking at some heat transfer. Your review sheet question is number 9, and there is a lab report. First thing though, today is count day. You should be able to go into your class. If you're in Ms. Schaefer's class, you should be able to go in and check your physical science announcement. Do you see this picture? That means you're in the physical science course. It should say physical science at the top of the page, and you should see this picture in the announcements. From there, what you want to go in and do is take the participation quiz. That will register that not only are you in the classroom, you are participating. So if you log in just to that main page, it doesn't always register you as being in the class. You want to also make sure that you do a task in the course. So you should see physical science here at the top of the page. You'll see this in the announcements section, and then you'll go in and click on today's assignment, which is 1.05 in this area on the class plan. You can click on there, or you can go into content, clicking on chapter 1, and then going to lesson 5. In the lesson material folder, there is a code word quiz that you are going to complete. So you want to do that, pause until that is completed. All right, so viscosity. What are some examples of something that has high viscosity? To help us answer this question, we needed to go through the pre-lesson material. You can also use the word wall. So I'm going to help you walk through that and walk through the lab in this very short, quick recording. Find some helps on that lesson material, how to download the lab report, how to check your feedback, and then some walkthroughs in this recording. There is a lab report that you're going to want to download. If you're in the lesson material, you'll see the link here, or if you're in the toolkit, you can download that lab report. You want to go through the reading because it's going to tell you what viscosity is. That is part of the lab report. You can pause and go back and rewind. So I'm going to recommend that you go through this at a certain pace. You can pause this and read through this to help you out. You will have a couple days to work on that. You will find all of the material you need in the course. You'll need to be in the content tab. You'll find that lesson material, which is the instructions. You'll see the lab report and then the textbook and lab folder. You'll be using each of those in this lab. So the first thing you'll want to do is download that lab report. Click on the link, it will open up and you can download it and save it to your computer. If you have any problems, feel free to rewind, go through the instructions, and watch the video again. So the first question, what is viscosity? It is a physical property. Make sure to include that in your answer. Remember to think about what is a physical property. viscosity, say viscosity is, and then tell me what it is. Remember that you do need to use complete sentences. You will lose points if you don't use complete sentences. Question 2, when you heat honey, it is a, is it a physical or a chemical change? You're going to circle 1, or you can erase 1, whichever you need to. Change because, tell me why it's considered a physical property or a chemical property. Remember, we're warming it in this case. Think about water. When you heat water, is that a physical change or a chemical change? What do you expect the honey to do when it's heated? That's the next part of the question. Do you expect it will flow faster, slower, or the same? So you're going to be looking at answering that question. Then we have to determine how we're measuring viscosity. That's one of our questions. Oh, look at this hint. Look at the data table, it says. Are we measuring viscosity so it has something listed as viscosity, or are we measuring viscosity indirectly? What do you think? What are we measuring? What equipment are we using to help us determine or collect the data? What is it? All right, the next thing we need to do is state our hypothesis. That's question 4. This is our prediction. It's usually in an if and then statement. In this case, I've given you a starter. If viscosity is a physical change, then when we increase the temperature of the honey, then the viscosity, which is the flow, the rate of flow, will it increase, decrease, or stay the same? Remember that you do not have to use this starter to answer the question, but it has to be related to the goal, which is listed on your goal sheet. You'll then need to go in and watch the video. It is in the 1.05 textbook. In the folder that says textbook and lab, you'll need to go to investigations where it says viscosity, and page 2, you'll see this link. You'll click on it, you'll open it up. You'll watch the video. Then what you'll see here on this idea is that we're identifying both the independent variable and the dependent variable in this graph. So we're going to graph the data. Which one is the independent variable? Which one is the dependent variable? Is it the temperature or the distance? To help you graph, use those graph helps. Don't try to do this alone. There are helps in that material or on the word wall that will help you. You do need to have a key and a word wall. There are several ways you can graph. They're all good. The big thing is, did you graph the data according to these instructions? You need to have your graph labeled. You need to have the different symbols for each trial, if there is one. You need to have a key, and in this graph, you're going to create a trend line. If you're not sure what a trend line is, go to the helps, either in the word wall or through the instructions on how to graph. There is help there for you. Here's a quick page of some instructions just to remind you. Here's some information on trend lines so that it helps you out. And then you take the data, you graph it. After that, you're going to go back in and write kind of like a conclusion. In this case, you're going to restate your hypothesis. You're going to explain whether the data supports the hypothesis or not, and you're going to use data. If you don't use the actual number, you're going to lose points. So here's an example, and this is the example of me using data. You'll have to restate your hypothesis, restate whether your hypothesis is supported or not, and then say, for example, at 0 degrees, the distance traveled was, and then list it. But at 70 degrees, the distance traveled was, and then list that amount. This means that as the temperature increased, the viscosity, did it increase, decrease, or stay the same? What do you think? The next part of the lab is using that trend line. You're going to apply it. There's some helps here for you of what a correct trend line is. It means that the points are above and below the line. Remember to use those helps as you go through. Don't forget the code word for participation because it is going to help you for today's count day. I hope that helps. Have a great day.